Oh wow, this is kind of crazy. So I didn't realize you got this much from doing the tutorial. You get 100 learning points for doing the tutorial here. So yeah, if you're watching this, definitely 100% go do the tutorial for those 100 learning points. That is huge. That is very, very huge. Hello everyone and welcome to Albion. So Albion is finally launching on the Google Play Store and the App Store. So there's probably going to be a lot of new people coming in wondering, what the heck is this game? What can you do in this game? All that kind of stuff. And this game is a lot to take in. The tutorial isn't very detailed. There is tons and tons of content. I'm going to take you through the beginners part of this as quickly as I can and explain everything as best as I can. Before we get started though, please like and subscribe, especially if you are looking for more Albion Online mobile content, because the mobile version is quite a bit different than the PC version. There's a lot of PC content out there, but it doesn't quite apply to mobile in a lot of cases. All right, so starting off with character creation. First of all, I'm going to show you my mouse here. You can use your mouse and keyboard on your phone if you like. If you have a mouse or keyboard that can plug into your phone, you can enjoy some mouse and keyboard gameplay if you prefer it. If not, the touchscreen controls are very good as well. I'm only going to use the mouse and keyboard for the character creation and just so you guys can see what I'm pointing at and see what I'm doing and that sort of thing. So the character customization, there's not a whole lot of customization options, and doesn't really make a big difference what you do here because you can basically change all this stuff at any time in the game after you create your character. So yeah, just kind of scroll through here. I have to make a female character because I am a content creator and female characters get more views. That's just the way things are. Anyway, yeah, let's continue on. Enter name. We're gonna go with phone user because I kind of want to maybe troll people with this character at some point, do some PvP ganking, and you know, people will get embarrassed if they know that they got killed by somebody that's using a phone. Let's go with phone user. All right. So by the way, there's only one server on Albion Online, one server for the whole world. Everybody plays on this one server. All right, let's enter the world. We'll play the tutorial and kind of explain things as they go. First of all, you'll see over here on the right, there is gold and premium. So gold is the premium currency, which you can earn in game. You can actually trade silver, which is the free currency, for gold in game, and premium. This is a service that basically gives you more XP and more returns on gathering, and among many other benefits. So it's highly recommended that you do have premium, which costs, I think, normally like $12 a month if you want to pay with money, but you can also buy this with silver in game as well. So you just have to earn enough silver to buy premium in game, and it's not that hard actually. You can earn silver pretty easily in this game, and that will be something we cover probably in another video on how to get your enough silver to get premium as quickly as possible. Now, before you even enter the world, I do highly recommend looking at the wiki. I'll put some links in the description for various resources that will give you some more information about the game, because some things you should know before you start the game are what type of weapon you want to use, what type of armor, and so on. So in this game, you can use anything you want. You can combine any piece of armor with any weapon. You can wear heavy armor with a mage staff if you want. And there's tons and tons of different weapons and tons of things to choose from. So I highly recommend you go and look at these resources. Some of them are a bit outdated, but for the most part, yeah, because a few skills and stuff have changed over the years. But for the most part, everything's the same, and the idea behind the weapons are the same. So go ahead and look at all the weapons and all the armors and try to get an idea of what you think you would like to use before you jump in here. And also, based on your weapon and armor that you choose, pay close attention to what resources they require to craft. If you want to craft your own weapons and armor, you have to pay attention to those. And then one very important step we take here is choosing a biome to start in. So certain biomes have only certain resources to gather. So for example, there's a mountain biome with metal, fiber, and stone. So if you wanted to do heavy armor or melee weapons, you probably want to go into that biome with all the metal and so on. Anyway, so just pause the video if you need to and go do a little bit of research, maybe come back later, and then you can continue on with us through our journey into Albion. Okay, so here we have some options. Right now I have the joystick enabled by default, but if you do want to go into your options, and we should probably go into our options straight away here just to make sure that everything is looking good. So for controls, there's two different options. You can use the joystick, the touch controls, but if you are using your mouse and keyboard plugged into your phone, you can switch it over to these controls right here. You can't see them because this tutorial thing is in the way. So let's just go ahead and get the tutorial over with, and then we'll explain all that stuff, I guess. I'll be making edits here and only stopping at points where I believe that we should talk about important parts of the tutorial. Now we're in the tutorial, and one thing to note here is when you climb this lighthouse, it doesn't tell you this, but there's a chest at the top, and you have to actually attack chests to open them. So I already went and attacked this chest right here. So you just attack that, and then just attack it by just tapping on it, and then you get your first piece of armor here, the Mercenary's Hood. And for some reason they don't tell you that. Like I said, this tutorial is not great, and that's why we are making this video. Let's talk about the ability wheel real quick and the buttons here. So this button right here with the gears is your interaction thing. You can use that to interact with NPCs. You can also click or tap on them if you want to interact as well. But yeah, that's that. And these buttons over here. So as we mentioned at the start, where you should go and do some research on the armor and stuff, because armor all have different types of abilities. So your helmet has an ability, your boots have an ability, and your chest armor has an ability. And then your weapon has 3 more additional abilities. We don't have a weapon yet, so that's the reason we don't have any abilities here, but we will be getting to those later in the tutorial. Now, actually that the big pop-up is out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about game settings now. We'll start from the top with general. So in general settings here, there's only a few things I would recommend. I would just turn off camera shake, probably, unless you like it, but you probably don't really need that. And also enable skip intro video. And limit players shown in crowded cities, definitely turn that on. Because what this does is sometimes there'll be upwards of 400, maybe even 500 people in a city. And by enabling this, it'll just hide the players and save you a lot of energy on your phone. Everything else can pretty much stay as it is. Now in the interface settings, I guess this is more of personal preference. This is how I have mine set up. I turn off ally damage. I don't really care how much damage my allies are doing. I do turn on ally healing because it's nice to know about the healing that's incoming. And I disable enemy heals. I disable my name and my guild name. I don't really need my name and guild name taking up my screen space. I just keep my health bars on. I put the name tag type to small. Show off-screen name tags. This is hugely important. Never turn this off if you plan on going in anywhere that there might be PvP, because what this means is when people will start getting close to you off the screen here, on the side of the screen, you'll see like their name pop up before you can actually see them. If you have that disabled, they will be here in striking range before you even know it. So you definitely want to have that enabled if you plan on doing any PvP area type stuff. Now for guild and alliance members, I do want to see their names, because if you're on Discord or something in chat, you do want to know the names of people that get called out. If they say heal X or heal Y, if you're a healer, it's definitely important to see their names. I guess if you're not a healer, maybe this isn't so important. The same with the health. Maybe if you're a DPS or tank, maybe you want to disable everything just so you can see your enemies better, and you don't really care about your allies' names. Other players, I just put on the health. You might want to enable other players' names too, just so you can call out names in PvP situations. And here, if you want to disable the profanity filter, you can just disable it that way. I'm gonna keep it on because, yeah, we're recording, and I don't want the chat to be spammed with all kinds of profanity while I'm recording here. In the chat settings, one very, very important thing I recommend you do is in every single tab, scroll down a bit and enable kill player. So this means every time a player gets killed in chat, you'll see a message pop up that says someone got killed by someone else. So that will keep you aware that maybe there's a danger in the area. And also you can look at the minimap. As soon as you see that, look at the minimap and you'll see exactly where this person got killed. And I guess if you want to go over there and get in on the action, you can do that. But if you have a lot of stuff on you and you don't want to risk losing it, you definitely want to avoid wherever that player got killed. So same thing for all the other chat sections. I would go in here and enable kill player just in case you happen to be on that tab in the wrong place at the wrong time. You want to know when anyone's getting killed at all times. And then you can also create new tabs for customization if you like. And you can also delete these tabs that you don't use if you like. Okay, so controls. This is what we were talking about earlier. I assume probably 99% of you will just want to go with virtual controller. Tab controls if you are using a keyboard and mouse on your device. Force combat mode. So this is pretty nice. Like if you're in the middle of combat, sometimes there will be maybe a tree or something that you can click on. And if you have this off, you'll start harvesting that tree in the middle of combat. I would say 99% of the time you do not want to do that. So I would definitely enable force combat mode so you're not accidentally clicking on trees or rocks while you're fighting. Auto target aggressor can be pretty useful. I would definitely recommend turning that on as well. Double press to attack is not necessary really. I mean, especially if you're using the virtual controller. With mouse and keyboard, I would definitely recommend turning this on. That means that if you click on somebody, it'll take 2 clicks to attack them. So this, by enabling this, it means that you can click on somebody without attacking them right away. So if you're in like a PvP area and you want to click on somebody just to have them targeted but not attack them, you can do that. Otherwise, if you have this disabled, you're just going to attack them if you tap on them. Dynamic actions is very important. I would definitely recommend having this on. And again, if you want tap to move, you have to enable that with tap controls. Exclude low tier resources. So this gets important later on. At the beginning of the game, you actually want to have this off. I'm going to turn this off right now because we're at the beginning of the game. But later on, you want to enable this so you're not constantly harvesting these low tier resources like these rocks and things here. So once you get later on in the game, you're looking at like tier 3, tier 4 resources, but there still will be these rough stones and these tier 1 resources scattered around the map as well. And you just want to make sure you're not harvesting those because they just take up space in your inventory. There's a weight system in the game too. So if you get too many rocks and stuff just clogging up your inventory, of course you're going to be overweight. That slows you down and does all kinds of other stuff as well. And custom button. So this is also pretty important. So this custom button, this is this button right here, which I have already set mine up. But the way to set this up is, first of all, of course, you have to enable the button, and then you have to go into key bindings, and then you see over here 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can add anything in here as a custom binding. So my recommendation starting out is to put on auto run, because auto run is pretty convenient. So I have auto run on number 1, and you can only have one of these selected at a time. So you have to hold down on this and then kind of drag. It's kind of clunky. I hope they change this, but for now, you got to hold down and drag to whichever one of your custom buttons you want to be using at the time. So 99% of the time I go with auto run. So that means if I enable this and I start running, my character will just keep running in the direction that she's going without me having to actually hold down the joystick. As you can see, the joystick moving here and there, but sometimes it's neutral in the middle and she's still running. Video options are very, very important. So I recommend to limit your frame rate to 30 if you want to maximize your battery life. You can raise the limit all the way up to 120 and higher if you prefer it, but yeah, I would recommend limiting it to 30 just for your battery's sake. Now, the very most important setting in this is prefab quality. So you want to have this at ultra at all times, because if you put this down, so when you're fighting mobs and stuff, there will be like red circles on the ground indicating what they're going to do or where their big damage is going to hit. And if you turn this down, sometimes those will not be drawn. So you want to have prefab quality ultra. Everything else, you just do whatever you prefer. I tend to keep most things on low just to keep my frame rate up, and that's pretty much it. Now, speaking of frame rate, I guess I should mention this as well. If you go into chat and you type, so you can see on my screen, I have it already on the left side, but in order to enable your frame rate and your ping, you want to go into chat and type /FPS and /ping, and that will enable or disable it. So like right now, I'll type in /FPS, and it disabled the FPS. So do it again to re-enable it if you like. Actually, I'm pretty sure by default it's not enabled, so you have to go ahead and do that if you want to enable that. Audio, this should be pretty self-explanatory. One thing I will say is you probably want your sound effects, and I'm actually going to crank mine up a bit. Your sound effects higher than everything else, especially if you're in a PvP area. So when people are on mounts, the mounts are very loud, and it's good to know when somebody's coming and nearby. And notifications, this is something that kind of saves over time. As you play the game, you'll start getting notifications, and you can tell the game to hide them and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to re-enable them, you have to go into that menu to re-enable them. Okay, on with the rest of the tutorial. Now, unfortunately, we're forced to start with the sword, so yeah, if you're planning on playing a mage, it's kind of a bummer, but you'll be able to get to the mage stuff pretty soon here, don't worry about it. Well, as far as the ability goes on our sword, I would actually recommend that you... Oh, great, this is... So you can move this down, so in case it goes off the screen like that, you can drag down the window there. So anyway, you can long press on these abilities to see what they do. We're going to go with Heroic Cleave, which is the AoE version. Heroic Strike is single target, but I saw a few mobs up ahead. It looks like we're going to need some AoE, so let's go with some Heroic Cleave here. Also, another quick tip here is if you want to equip stuff quickly, you can just go ahead and double tap or double click on those items to equip them quickly. Oh, one other thing I should mention is to close windows, you can actually just swipe left or swipe right. I don't know if I can do it with my mouse. No, I can't, but yeah. You can't actually see me swiping, but you can actually swipe this to the right. There will be some windows, like these appearance windows on the left. You can swipe to the left to close windows quickly that way. So just go through here and use your abilities. You see that our dynamic ability button in the middle changes to whatever we need it here. As they die, we can use that to also loot and attack. It's a very handy button. It basically does all the things: loot, attack, craft, gather, and all that good stuff. Okay, now the Destiny board. So this is the big thing of Albion that helps you keep track of all the things you learn. So as I said, you can play anything, do anything that you want in this game, and this is how you keep track of all the stuff you've done, all the stuff you've leveled up, and all this stuff. You can go ahead and read through all this at your leisure if you like, but yeah, basically for the most part, it tells you what you can access and how far you can have to go to access other things. Also, if you have premium, if you did go ahead and buy premium straight away, you will notice that you accrue learning points. So these learning points can be used to unlock things a bit quicker. If you look at, say, Journeyman Leather Armor Fighter here, you see this little mark right here. So once you get to this mark, you can actually use learning points to finish off the level. So I think it's about 20%. If you get to 20%, you can use your learning points to speed up your progress, basically. But if you did buy premium, I highly recommend not using any learning points. Just save, because these nodes early on, they'll go quickly. None of this stuff towards the middle is important at all. You want to save all those points for masteries later on. These get really expensive. Sometimes they get up to 50 or more points to learn. And then if you want to do gathering as well. So if we look at the gathering stuff at the end here, this, for example, Grandmaster Lumberjack, 351 learning points. You get, I believe, 20 learning points per day. Yeah, 20 per day. So this will take quite a few days worth of learning points saved to learn. And these take a lot of time to level up. So gathering and weapon masteries, armor masteries should be the only things you will spend your learning points on. But yeah, anyway, take your time to look around this. Another important thing to pay attention to is these Reaver levels. You cannot use learning points for these, but these are very important to pay attention to, because if you want to fight tier 3 creatures, you want to have first Journeyman Reaver, because if you don't have this, the creatures will basically be doing 15 or 13% more damage to you, and you will be doing 15% less damage to them. And same thing goes for like Adept and on. So if you try to fight a tier 4 without this, they're doing 26% more damage to you, and you're doing 35% less damage to them. And it just gets worse and worse as we go on. If you try to fight a T5 creature, yeah, anyway, it's pretty quick to level these up, but just pay attention to that. If you're at tier 3 and you see a tier 5 and you don't have tier 5 Reaver, you're probably going to get wrecked. All right, now we enter the cove and we start seeing other people, which is nice. Nice to see other people doing the tutorial and that sort of thing. You can see there's all constantly new players coming to this game. This is the #1 sandbox MMORPG on mobile right now. So yeah, very cool game, very fun game, but very hard to learn. Anyway, yeah, let's get on with the tips and tricks and all that good stuff. Okay, so now we get to get our first mount after talking to that last NPC to get this quest. You open up the marketplace here. It tells you a little bit about how the marketplace works, and basically it tells you that if you sell something or buy something from a specific marketplace, it only stays at that marketplace. So all marketplaces in the game are independent from each other. So we just go ahead and buy our first mount here. Now there's a little bit of a tutorial here. If you want to read that, you can go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and buy the mount real quick. Click buy, click yes, go back to our inventory, double click the mount and equip it. Now you'll see the mount button down here on the bottom left next to our joystick. Click the mount, it has a little bit of cast time, and then you are mounted. Now, something really important. So when you dismount, you see this circle. If you go beyond this circle, your mount will disappear. Your mount also gives you quite a big buff. If you stay in this circle, the mount gives you a buff here that we can see by long pressing on this icon here. So this is the courier buff, which gives you an increased carry capacity of 25 kilograms. But if we go out of range of this, for example, right here, the mount disappears and we lose that buff. So if, for example, we were over 100% without the mount, then right now we would be at a slower pace because we ran out of the mount range and we no longer have that 25 kilogram buff there. But one cool thing about the mobile version that the PC version doesn't have is, say you are a bit far away from your mount and you click on your button again, it will go back to your mount and automatically mount you back up. That's really something very nice about the mobile version, because in the PC version, yeah, you can't do that. You have to actually manually run back to your mount every time. So nice little practical features for mobile there. Oh, I guess one other thing about the mounts that I should note is that the move speed bonus. So the 40% move speed, that's when basically when you first start moving, you get 40% move speed bonus. And then after a few seconds, you'll get this gallop speed bonus, which goes a little bit quicker. So for example here, we'll go down here a few seconds later, you'll see this, you'll hear this sound. Well, it didn't play that time, but usually there's a sound that plays. And then you see these streaks that indicate that you're moving a bit quicker now. Now here's an example of why you may want to, or you will want to later disable or enable the exclude low tier resources, because for example here, we want to talk to this NPC right here, but we keep targeting these rough stones nearby. So in this case, we actually have to just tap on the NPC to craft our pickaxe and other stuff that we need. So maybe you just got through the minimap tutorial, maybe you're a little bit further already, but one thing I want to jump in about for the mobile version here, which it doesn't really tell you, is on the minimap, you can click on it here, or long press on it rather, long press on it, and then drag to the right or left to zoom in or zoom out, which doesn't actually work in some of these areas because they're really tiny. But yeah, just something to note as you get to the bigger areas outside of the tutorial, you may or may not want to start zooming in, zooming out to see more details on your minimap. So at this point is probably a good point where we might want to actually exclude low tier resources, because we're looking for tier 2 resources now, which are birch trees, which are these white ones here, and all these little trees right here will be getting in our way if we don't have that selected. So now I should be able to just go straight to the birch tree, even though I'm standing right on top of a tier 1 tree. We'll be ignoring those tier 1 trees for the most part from now on. There might be, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you actually need tier 1 trees for even later on in the game, especially once you set up your own island and stuff like that. You need those a lot for buildings and such, but for now, I would go ahead and exclude them until you actually really need them. Alright, at this point in the tutorial, when we're going into the mountains here, this is when you might want to decide what you really want to go for. If you want to go for a bow type build, or a mage type build, or a melee tanky type build. So based on which of those builds you want to go for, I would go ahead and maybe farm a little bit of extra cotton fiber if you want to be a mage, extra cotton fiber for mage, and extra copper ore if you want to go for a melee or tank style build. If you want to go for a bow type build, then you might want to go back to the forest and get a few more birch trees and stuff like that. Also, like for leather armor, I mean, you can mix and match here. So if you want to go for leather armor, you want to go back and farm a few more hides. If you want to go for heavy armor, you want more metal and then copper ore, and then you want fiber for the cloth armor. Basically, at this point in the game, all this stuff is pretty valuable. Like, you can't go wrong getting as much copper and stuff as you can. Every tier is required for the next tier. So even like tier 8 stuff will have a little bit of copper in it, because you need copper for tier 3 to make tier 3, and then you need the tier 3 materials to make tier 4, the tier 4 materials to make tier 5. So everything has its place. Everything stays relevant throughout the whole game as far as tier 2 and up go. Of course, the tier 1 materials, they're not really required for many things, but these materials like cotton, the skins, the birch trees, and the copper, they will stay relevant forever. Oh, this is how they get you. They want to make you use all your resources to repair this ship. So yeah, good thing we went ahead and got some extra resources to craft with after this. Now, when you're out here fighting, don't forget to be using your ability, the green ability down here, to speed up your HP regen a little bit. Yeah, just have to go to the middle of the circle here, find this map, and then you're basically... Oh wait, you have to kill heretics until you reach the learning points threshold of the trainee combat node. Okay, so they want to continue with this learning points tutorial. Anyway, we're going to skip forward. So yeah, it looks like they really want to get us in the habit of using learning points. Again, do not, only for this one exception, but in general, just don't use learning points. Just wait. You'll be glad you waited. Trust me. All right, now that we're back in the forest here, I would actually go ahead and take some time to get a little bit of extra birch A little bit of extra skins from the foxes, just in case I mean, most everything uses wood. So wood, I think all the weapons use wood, I'm pretty sure. So you definitely want to make sure you're getting some wood. I'm pretty sure all the staves, all the melee weapons, and definitely the bows use wood. So make sure you stock up a bit on some of this wood here. And then, yeah, if you want leather armor, go for some skins. Another thing to note here, especially important if you want to be a ranged class, this button over here on the right, let me go ahead and point at it with my mouse real quick. This button over here on the right is the targeting button. So use that to target your targets, and you can long press it to clear your target. All right, we are back in the town. Let's make sure and go ahead and refine any extra materials we went ahead and farmed. And then we'll go ahead and we should be able to craft whatever we want soon, basically. Not whatever we want. Okay, so one thing to note here is if you did go and research your weapons and stuff, we don't get access to the huge variety of weapons until tier 4. So we're going to be getting tier 2 or 3 stuff here in a moment, which will just be like one option. Like you get one bow or one staff. I believe it's like a fire staff as the tier 3 option. It isn't until tier 4 that you can actually get ice staff, curse staff, and all these different types, and the different types of bows and that sort of thing. Okay, so now we get to check out what kind of stuff, after you talk to the captain, she tells you to go check out what kinds of stuff you can get from the different forges. Okay, so we're looking at tier 2. We can make, as I said, you can only make swords for the warriors. You can only make one type of bow and one type of staff at tier 2. So if you want to go for a sword and shield, continue with sword and shield, you can do that. You can craft your tier 2 heavy armor here if you like. We'll continue on to the Hunter's Lodge. We can make our novice's bow here, tier 2 bow here if we want, and also the tier 2 leather armor if you like. And then last but not least, we'll have the Mage Tower. So here we can make our fire staff and our Tome of Spells, which reduces our cooldowns, and our cloth armor. Now about the bonuses I mentioned before. So if we click on the Scholar's Robe, the bonuses you get just from the chest piece, by the way, for damage. So like if you want to play a tank, you use a heavy armor chest. If you want to be something sort of in the middle, kind of tanky, but also doing extra damage, you use the leather chest. And then if you want to be pure DPS, you use the cloth chest. And you can see the bonuses here on the right. As we open up this side window, we see down here a little bit, magic ability bonus 40%, physical ability, and magic attack bonus. So that's for like healing, physical attacks, and magical attacks. So all that stuff gets a 40% bonus. And then in comparison, we'll go ahead and look at the leather armor chest, which has 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, and then the heavy armor. And then for the plate armor, we see actually 10%. I thought it was 0, but I was wrong. It's 10%. But it does have some other bonuses as well, such as crowd control duration. So if you want to be a tanky boy and just crowd control the heck out of people in PvP and stuff like that, then that's the way you want to go. And also it has extra crowd control resistance. You can definitely tell there's much higher armor, magical resistance, health bonuses, and that sort of thing with the heavy armor. So yeah, go ahead at your leisure and compare to decide which you think you would like the best. And we're reminded here that crafting isn't absolutely necessary. This is just for tutorial purposes. If you skip the tutorial, and if you're watching this before you're actually playing it, you can skip the tutorial and go straight into just killing stuff pretty quickly and go to the marketplace and buy stuff for pretty cheap. Crafting is not necessary. So if you're like someone that really isn't into crafting, yeah, don't take this tutorial as an indicator that like you have to be crafting and gathering all the time. You do not have to do that, but yeah, it's just a tutorial, that's all. So I decided to go for mage stuff and didn't quite have enough of the resources. So yeah, definitely, if you're watching this before you're starting to play, make sure you do go and go ahead and get extra resources because it takes quite a bit. It takes quite a bit, so you don't have to go back and make a second trip like I'm having to do right now. Oh wow, this is kind of crazy. So I didn't realize you got this much from doing the tutorial. You get 100 learning points for doing the tutorial here. So yeah, if you're watching this, definitely 100% go do the tutorial for those 100 learning points. That is huge. That is very, very huge. So we're going to head off and I believe do the last part of this quest here. I'm not 100% sure if that's... I've actually never done this tutorial before. When I started playing this game, I don't want to sound like one of those guys back in my day. But yeah, back in my day, we didn't have a tutorial at all. There was no tutorial. There were a few like optional quests that you could do, but not really a tutorial. You basically... But I think they did kind of tell you like how to gather and craft a few things, and then that's basically it. This is way more in depth than what we had. But again, this is like more PC focused, as you've noticed throughout the tutorial. They mention like using different keyboard buttons and stuff at a lot of the points. So it's like, yeah, this is obviously not meant to be for mobile quite yet. Hopefully, who knows if they will ever actually make a mobile version of the tutorial, but for now... Wait, I'm missing some skills here. Did I forget to equip some skills? I think I forgot to equip some skills. Let's go ahead and make sure we equip those skills. Yeah, okay. So on the staff, you do have two options for skills, AoE option and single target option. I'll just go with AoE for now, just cause why not? I'll try to gather up some enemies. And am I still missing something? Missing like, is that my boots or my armor? I think it's my armor. Looks like we're missing an armor ability there. Yeah. We'll go ahead and go with the ice shield. Okay. Now we can do some damage, I hope. Alright, so AoE, these guys. Now, I don't know why, for some reason, I don't know if this is just me, but for some reason, as I'm tapping my abilities, it's like sometimes showing me the tooltips. I don't know why that's happening. Yeah, the mobile version of this game is not 100% polished yet. Like, it's just going into beta. If you're playing this on the Google Play Store, this is just a beta version, so keep that in mind. Now, one thing you'll notice here, which you probably will find quite annoying, is every time you dismount, you have a 5-second cooldown on all your abilities. The reason for this, though, is because when you get out into the open world where there's PvP going on and all that kind of stuff, people will roll up on you with super fast mounts that run at 135% or more move speed, and if they just jump off their mount and can attack you immediately, you don't have any chance to defend yourself, especially if it's multiple people. Sometimes people will roll in like groups of 2, 3, even I've seen people like groups of 6 or 7 jump one dude before. So they'll roll up, they'll jump off their mounts, and this wasn't in place a long time ago. Back in my day, there was no cooldown. You could just jump off your mount and start attacking people, and that's why that's in place now, because yeah, it's to protect people so you don't get ganked as easy. So you should be thankful for that. But okay, I mean, I guess if you're never planning on going into any PvP area ever, yeah, maybe it's kind of annoying, but yeah, it's actually there for your protection, just so you know. All right, so now I got to move further in and set fire to this ammunition. How do we do that? Somebody just did it. We got to wait for it to respawn. Is there more over here somewhere? Or is this the only one? I think this is the only one. Oh, I'm stupid. So apparently I did get credit for... Oh, we just had to stand in the circle, and I was... Oh, okay. I get it now. Okay. Well, maybe some other people can learn from that. So I thought we had to actually attack it or interact with it in some way, but yeah, we just had to stand in the circle for a moment. Derp. I thought, yeah. Okay, anyway. Totally knew that was the case. Get to the pier. Alright, and this should be the end of the tutorial here. Go through the gate. And then we get unleashed into the world of Albion. Now, this is a very important point right here. As we talked about in the beginning, every single area in this game has different biomes, different types of stuff. So depending on if you don't want to craft anything and you're just going to buy anything and kind of just want to go with whatever you think looks best, you know, there's a forest biome, there's a swamp biome, there's a mountain biome, which is all snowy, and then there's a hills biome, which is kind of rocky, green, and then there's like a steppes biome, which has a lot of animals and it's basically mostly brown. So we go ahead and kind of look through the map here. Let's look at some of these maps over here. For example, here in the forest, you have wood, stone, and hide. So forest has wood, stone, and hide. Mountains have stone, fiber, and metal. So if you're a tanky boy, you probably want to maybe go for the mountains. But usually, I mean, there's a little bit of overlap. So here's another place like the swamps here that have fiber, wood, and hide. So if you're a leather boy or a cloth boy, that's not a bad place to start. And down over here in the mountains, we have wood, stone, and metal. Not a bad place to start either. Maybe if you're I've never seen a bow user with plate armor, but if you're a bow user with plate armor, that could be a good place. So stone, by the way, stone is not really used for making any armor or weapons. Stone is just used for buildings like player territories, your island, stuff like that. Stone is 100% for buildings, repairing buildings, that sort of thing. It's very, very lucrative. You can usually sell stone for quite a bit. But yeah, it's kind of useless unless you're actually trying to build stuff yourself, that sort of thing. And then last but not least, we have the steppes, which have hide, fiber, and metal. So that's kind of like all three. If you can't decide on what type of weapon or armor you want, you can go to the steppes. You can farm all the armor type stuff until you decide. Unfortunately, you don't really I don't know, like I think there are some weapons that you can make with pure metal. I'm not 100% sure about that, to be honest. So yeah, very important to know which ones you want to go to. So Forest Cross, Highland Cross is the place with all the stones, the hills, I call it, the Mountain Cross, Steppe Cross, and Swamp Cross. Very important choice you need to make here. And I think that'll be the end of this tutorial video. In the next video, we'll go into a little bit more advanced stuff for getting started in Albion. I hope you enjoyed the mobile version of this tutorial. I tried to make it as mobile friendly as possible. I think I pretty much mentioned all the features and differences for mobile. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time in the next video. Have a good one. Stay safe out there in the world of Albion. Peace and GG's.